We are very thrilled to have Mr. Gerry Higgins, founder and managing director of Social Enterprise World Forum, joining us on Zoom today. As the founder of the SE World Forum, Gerry is dedicated to developing a global impact economy by convening change makers, influencing policy, and building capacity across the social enterprise movement worldwide. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Gerry Higgins on Zoom. Mr. Higgins.
Good afternoon, and thank you for asking me to join the summit. I have 12 minutes, I believe, to give an outline of why Social Enterprise World Forum was started and the work that we do. I'll keep an eye on the chat, so if there's anything wrong with the sound, just let me know through the chat, but otherwise I'm just going to proceed. Back in 2008, the world of social enterprise was very different to what it is now. There were social enterprises in many countries around the world, but they were all disconnected and largely unaware of what was happening in other regions. So we established SEWF at that time in order to share learning and to strengthen and grow the social enterprise movement. We were able to observe some of the good practice and the innovation that was happening on various continents, but we were fully aware that it was completely disconnected. We started with a simple concept, one of just seeing if there was an appetite and an interest in getting folk together to share their stories on social enterprise. And we got 425 people from 26 countries to come to Edinburgh in 2008. And we met and formed an international steering group after that event. And the consensus was that the first event had really opened people's eyes to the characteristics of social enterprise in various countries, and therefore it was worthwhile continuing with SEWF. And we, at the time, decided not to do a Davos model of bringing SEWF back to Edinburgh every year, but that we would try a much more difficult model of convening in a different continent every year. So for the first 6 years, we followed that plan, and we were delighted to be in Hong Kong in 2016 as part of our commitment to moving SEWF around the world, because everywhere that hosts, the legacy is local, it's regional, and it's global. So had we decided on coming to Edinburgh every year, the ecosystem in Scotland and in Europe will have been enhanced, but it would be much more difficult for Asia, for Africa, for Americas to be able to engage. So although the task of convening on a different continent with different partners every year is challenging, that's the model that we decided to take. We also bootstrapped it. I hope the term translates well. We focused very much on building social capital across nations with social enterprise practitioners and leaders, not creating an organization that had a big staff crew and had lots of social investment in order to grow quickly. We focused on the relationships that we wanted to build, trust with social enterprises, and that has stood us in good stead, especially when we hit a hiccup during COVID and we had to stop our in-person convening and switch to digital. At that time, the relationships that we had established over the previous 12 years really stood us in good stead as people attended digitally to engage and to support the social enterprise community. So after 10 years of convening in various countries, our board met and took stock of the needs of social enterprise around the world and the work that we were doing at SEWF. And we decided at that point that we needed to go beyond convening to address other challenges. Social enterprise, to establish a social enterprise in Hong Kong, it isn't a terribly difficult thing to do. There's recognition of what a social enterprise is. There are intermediaries and support agencies to support startups. and there are networks where you can get advice from other social enterprises. But in many countries around the world, that isn't the case. There's an absence of policy, and there's an absence of structure. So we set about adding some depth to our organization. So we still focus on convening. That's one of the pillars. And the other two pillars are policy advocacy and identity. The policy advocacy piece means supporting policymakers wherever they are in the world to introduce policies that make it easier to start and to grow and run a social enterprise. Many countries have social enterprise strategies. In Scotland, where I'm speaking to you from, we have a 10-year social enterprise strategy set out by government. And also, social enterprise sits at the top table with government, with universities, with businesses to determine the national economic strategy. So we can see across the world that there's a big range of engagement on policy, ranging from absolutely zero engagement to very intense recognition that social enterprise can play an important part in a nation's economic strategy. So we work with our intermediary partners in each country, national networks of social enterprises, to assist their work in advocating for effective policy, because we can bring some of the experience of effective policy around the world into that national dialogue. So that's one of the pillars that we're committed to. So every year we have a virtual policy forum attended typically by between 800 and 1,000 people. And it recognises that it's difficult for people who work in government, local or national governments, to get a budget to travel to engage in person with other policymakers. So we have a virtual policy forum where we highlight good practice and innovation, and we encourage adoption of some of that innovation in countries that are interested in social enterprise. We also have had a social procurement focus in our policy advocacy, because social procurement is one of the really strong themes of social enterprise around the world. Corporates in particular and governments are very interested in purchasing from social enterprise. So we need to help the social enterprises to become procurement ready and help buyers identify the social enterprises that are in a position to sell. This has been a huge expansion in recent years, and it's gone from low volume transactions with social enterprises to very significant transactions. We've also produced a rural social enterprise manifesto, and we are working right now on a social investment manifesto, which highlights some of the challenges that social enterprises have around the world of accessing social investment, and we will be making some recommendations for policymakers in social investments to make this change. The third pillar is one of identity, because buyers in particular, if they can't find social enterprises and if they can't identify them, and if they can't trust that a business that calls itself a social enterprise is actually a social enterprise, it's not going to engage it as a customer. So we established People and Planet First as an accessible, sustainable global verification system to help buyers identify social enterprises. And we're building a community currently in over 70 countries. We have over 1,000 verified social enterprises, and we're building that community. And we're very interested in working with partners in Hong Kong to ensure that Hong Kong is part of this global movement of enterprises that identify as putting people and planet before profit in their business. So in the first 10 years of SCWF, we were mainly dealing with social enterprises that were emerging from non-profits and charities. But in the next 10 years, it became clear that many social enterprises are starting simply as independent startups. They're not subsidiaries or businesses linked to other charities. There's been a huge increase in graduate interest in social enterprises, and a lot of people switching from the commercial sector to start social enterprises because they're interested in the concept of a business that does good for people and planet, and they get to do it as a business, not necessarily as a foundation or as a charitable entity. So our challenges have included the balance between being donor dependent and being enterprising. And we are an enterprising organization at SCWF. We earn the majority of our income from convening, but that's a challenge that is faced by intermediaries and networks around the world. It's the donor dependency area is extremely difficult at the moment, very, very challenging given the global turmoil we've experienced. So it helps organizations if they have strong revenue streams as well as some donor income. So our plan is to continue convening. We now convene every 2 years, our main event, just for environmental sustainability, and to continue to help organizations and networks with policy advocacy, and also to grow People and Planet First to become the predominant verification system for social enterprises around the world. When we convened SCWF 25 in Taiwan in October, I put out a call to networks in the region to work together to grow or to promote social enterprise and to share good practice and to support each other to ensure that the legacy of convening in Taipei is actually effective for social enterprises throughout the region. Hong Kong has a really important role in this because you have one of the most mature ecosystems for social enterprise. It's been existing for some time. You've got a number of networks and support agencies, and I think the system you have is much more effective than in many other countries, worldwide as well as in Asia. So we would like to work with you to ensure that the leading agencies in Hong Kong are playing a key role in various global projects. We're working with World Economic Forum right now on a data harmonization project where we're gathering mapping information about the size of social enterprise in various countries around the world, and we'll be engaging with you in Hong Kong to capture that data to make sure that it's relayed upwards, because it helps the social enterprise sector. When in the last World Economic Forum report on the state of social enterprise 2 years ago, they identified that there were 11 million social enterprises in the world. So this isn't something which is small. It's a very significant and growing sector. And as the global intermediary for social enterprise, SCWF wants to continue to work with you to ensure that Hong Kong and Asia is at the top table and adequately represented. Now, so we're going to continue in SCWF to support your work and to highlight your best practice, and we would like to work with you to disrupt traditional economic systems and create impact at a community level together. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to take questions, and I think I'm on a panel in a few minutes, so thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Gerry. You know what? Take a moment to rest because you can join us at 9:18 a.m. UK time for the open forum. So thank you very much for your sharing as well. We'll see you at the open forum shortly.